Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is part 2 of Chapter 5 within the International Business Model. In the previous part 1, we ended our discussion talking about the culture, specifically cultural matter. If you look at this slide, you can see it discusses in general one point, which I can summarize it within the accepting cultural diversity, accepting others. Look here, it says, for example, within the creating a global mindset regarding cultures, you need to have what we call cultural adaptability, which means that you need to adapt to new cultures, other cultures that may look different to yours, building global mentality and bridging the gap, and approach with caution. Within the first 3 points, cultural adaptability and global mentality and bridging the gap, it talks about accepting, as I have previously mentioned, it discusses the accepting others' cultural issues. Within the approach with caution, because there are differences within cultures from one community to another, it's true that you need to adapt and understand others. However, because it's different, you need to approach with caution. You may take what you find is convenient, good for you, you can adapt it to your culture. However, things that may be really different, that the community may refuse, that may not be good for you, you can reject it. So you approach other cultures with a little bit of caution. Also, within the nations and culture, you have the national culture and you have subcultures. Now already we understand what is a culture, the nation culture. It's the general norm, the general beliefs. However, within each nation, you can find subcultures. Subculture means that there are a group of people that share unique way of life within a larger culture, which is the national culture. For example, in Jordan, we may consider the Egyptian community, which is considered a subculture here in Jordan. They do have their own way of behavior, way of thinking, probably a little bit different way of consuming goods. They do have a subculture. So why it is important to understand subcultures as well, in addition to understanding, of course, the national culture. The subculture is considered to be a customer segment for us, the business planners. It is a customer segment. For example, it's some of within some of the nations, the subculture is really large. For example, consider the USA community as a community. For example, the Hispanics within the USA national culture, even though the Hispanics is formally considered a subculture, however, they are really large customer segment, and some of the researchers estimate the Hispanics in terms of number will become more than the original USA citizens. So we need to understand the subculture as well in terms of businesses and international businesses. In this slide, you can see the components of a culture. These are some generally most of the components. However, you may consider other components within other literature. In this slide, we can see the components of a culture: authentics, values and attitudes, manners and customs, social culture structure, religion, personal communication, education, and physical environments. We can talk about each of these components separately within the upcoming slides. For example, education. Within the education, we can talk about the educational level and the brain drain. It's obvious for us all what is the educational level, where you can find well-educated people. They attract high-paying jobs, while poorly educated attract low-paying manufacturing jobs. Some researchers link the level of education to the level of employment or career opportunities. It indicates that the more education level you have, the more high level of employment you may get, and vice versa, of course. Within the brain drain, well, the brain drain means that the highly skilled, clever, intelligent, educated people usually seek better opportunities probably in other countries, which is considered a brain drain for the home country. This is a critical point that we may consider, how we may create incentives, maintain our highly skilled employees. You can think about it within the organization itself. If you have highly skilled, intelligent employees, you need to create a good environment, a motivated environment for them to remain within your organization instead of brain training them. The language is another component of the national culture. The language is critical to culture because it's the primary mean how people interact, transmit information to each other. Religion, although religion is a very sensitive topic or component to talk about, however, understanding the religion is vital to understanding the culture, because a good portion of the cultural way of thinking, believing, seeing wrong or right comes based on the religion of the society or the group. However, within the organization itself, of course, you need to understand your employees' religion, because it will give you a good explanation or indication how they think, behave, may react. You need to respect, work with, and accept as a manager. Generally, within the religions of the world, you have the Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Judaism, and Shinto. These are in general. However, in terms of religion, we have hundreds of religions worldwide, maybe more. Values and attitudes. Values can be defined as the basic convictions that people have regarding what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, what is important and what is not important. However, attitudes is a persistent tendency to feel and behave in a particular way towards some object. Here's an example to let us understand the difference between values and attitudes. So values could be freedom, understanding of freedom, how we interact regarding freedom, responsibility as well, honesty. These are considered to be values. However, in terms of attitudes, it's positive or negative evaluations, feelings, tendencies people hold towards objects or concepts, such as time, the community attitude or a person attitude towards time, towards work, towards cultural change. This may give you a little bit of an example of the difference between values and attitudes. Customs and manners. Customs are common or established practices, while manners, behavior regarded and appropriate in a particular society. Once again, here's an example. If this is a little bit confusing, here's an example of the difference between customs and manners. Manners, appropriate behavior, speech, dressing in general. These are considered manners. Customs are traditional ways or behavior in specific circumstances. You can look how the customs within, for example, a table, how to behave on a table, dining table. Manners, it's a behavior when you are speaking, dressing in general. These are manners. Here are some examples regarding the language and how some organizations or institutions misuse the language, giving different conceptions that they want to convey. For example, here at the first one, a Japanese knife manufacturer labeled its exports to the United States with caution, blade extremely sharp, keep out of children. If you understand this they were trying to say, the Japanese manufacturer were trying to say that yes, this is a very sharp blade, so keep out of the reach of children, not keep out of children. It gives a different conception. Here's another example. English sign in Moscow, Hotel Red. You are welcome to visit the cemetery where famous Russians are buried daily except Thursday. Well, what they were trying to convey is that you can visit this cemetery all days except Thursday, but the written sign gives different conception of what they are trying to convey. And the rest of the examples are similar to how we may misuse language. So we need to understand of the cultural component, the language cultural component. The same goes with the signals. Some signals give different conceptions in different cultures or societies. You can think of the Jordanian culture, how some signs give different meanings from other communities. So this is the end of part 2. I will end the part 2 here. And within the part 3, we will discuss the importance of culture in different business contexts.